Yeah, people. Welcome to another episode of Creative Always Be. This episode is called Creative Always Be Doing Visual Effects. Jermaine Wellington, a visual effects specialist who has worked for worked on many commercial, worked for many agencies over the years, originally from RD Studio, hence the underscore RD in his Instagram handle. Now, creative director at Tilt Media, set live production, and also a lecturer for visual effects at Karamak UE. Let's show. Wagwan, Jermaine, Wagwan, Jermaine.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're there on the program now. Sorry about that.
cool.
Yeah. So we're there on the program now. Wagwan, brother.
Then, all right, and we still going to some work. Yeah?
That me see say you're there on. Oh, the underscore in your name never work. Yeah. You'd have to probably write double underscore. Um, we're there with the brother Jermaine. As usual, you know what I mean, we always try to bring some creative to talk to. This brother is especially creative as far as we know. As I can say, if you look on the show reel and see the level of talent where this brother have, it not normal. When it comes to visual effects, him I one of the man them in a Jamaica right now. When we talk about putting in things and removing things from video and stuff like that, this is one of the man them for sure. Jermaine, what go on, brother? Where you up to right now,
Yeah.
and how life a treat you and your family?
Life, not so bad in all things considered. You know, everybody on quarantine and all of that, but it's pretty much business as usual for me because been working from home from a couple years now, so not much difference.
We say
Yeah.
working from home no unusual to we at the state of the game that working from home. But when we
Yeah.
really want to
So,
ask you, the first question I'm always ask everybody when we bring on the program is how
mm.
did Jermaine get started in this production visual effects type of vibes?
All right. So, got formal training in visual communications, illustration, and graphic design from Edna Manley. So from there, um, I actually deferred my final year and I worked at a sign company called Print Big. And while working there, the owner of the company kind of allowed me to, go online in free time and watch and practice tutorials and all of that. So actually my first TV ad I did was for that guy. His name is Wayne Fagan. Big up Wayne all the time. So actually paid me for it too. It was crappy, kid you not, but that was the first time I kind of got the sense that I could make a living doing something that I really enjoyed. So I'm very thankful for that. So from there, did my final year show at Edna and then left. Was part time at Dunlop Carbon Communications. They took me on full time after that and spent 3 years there. And after that, started RD Studios with Ruption, and I think we did that for geez, well, like almost 5 years or so. I don't remember the math. We started in 2011, I think, and then from there, an opportunity came up and started Tilt Media, also doing that as well as set life production. But everything is all centered around production. But that is how that started.
Okay, so basically,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, tell me, say, the passion where you have, or the love where you have
Mm-hmm.
for basically design and stuff like that, lead you down to the design studio you usually work first, and then you end up working for Dunlop, and then you and
Mm-hmm.
Ruption say, all right, then we're gonna start this production house,
Yeah.
and that is where you basically got your start.
Yeah.
Amazing, brother.
So,
I've seen the work. I've been there, and you know what I mean. Been at RD studio and see the man them build the thing them and stuff like that, and even now, some of the time, we see you put out some content and I say, yo, that not normal. So
yeah.
one of the next thing I'm always ask the people them are, you know what I mean? Me tend to ask these questions. Um,
Yeah.
what inspires, you know, you as a creative in the space? Where you look to,
What
or
inspires? All
where
right.
you that kind of, you know, look at them, so to speak.
All right. I mean, two different but related things. Inspiration for me really comes from the like I like solving problems. So the challenge of coming up with a solution, that is what kind of drives me. And in terms of what I look at, not to put down Jamaica or anything like that, but I tend to focus on what's happening in the international space and gauge use that as a gauge for where my work is at and how much work I need to do to kind of fill that gap. So that is the marker I'm always trying to reach towards. So put in the effort. I always try to find things that, when I watch it, I wonder like, how in the hell can I do that? And instead of giving up, thinking that I can't do it, I use that as motivation to, you know, maybe like up my skill level. What tutorial I need to watch, or what course do I need to sign up for, whatever, to learn how to do this thing that these people are doing.
Definitely, brother. Definitely. And
Oh,
as you know, me and you always a talk about cinema 4Ds and stuff like that, and visual
yeah,
effects overall, and always are like, yo, Jeremy, like, you know me still when it comes to, you know what I mean, learning new things. Once a new
yeah,
thing them drop, I say, yo, Jeremy, check this out because yo, this hot, it's fresh. You know what I mean? And we
yeah.
always talk to each other about visual effects and the whole
Yeah.
state
I mean,
of
I
visual
must say that
effects.
that's one of the things I'm kind of appreciate about it, the appetite for learning. You get me? Cause, and that's something I share. Like, love learning new stuff. Love, like I said, it all comes back down to the passion for just coming up with solutions for problems, or figuring out how things work.
Which is very important because you see once you have
Mm.
the desire the eagerness to learn as a creative, you will go so far because you're always researching, you're always basically searching for the new information. Yo, what the new plugins them for After Effects, what
Mm-hmm.
the new cinema 4D, what the new cinema 4D offer. And you know me I always come to you and I say, yo, Jermaine, at this cinema 4D I say, you know, this R21 I say, this R22 I say, or yo, this you can do in the After Effects. Even the other day you tell me about Super Comp, but I never even know. And I say
Mm-hmm.
Super Comp just change your whole game, so to speak. You know what I mean? Stuff where you don't normally
Yeah,
take base
that
for do.
really changed my
You
workflow as it
basically
relates to composite.
with super comp you basically now can do a different level or something there. And I want to tell you say when you see him head down, the man actually at work while
Oh
we
yeah,
basically
yeah, yeah.
have
So
this conversation right now, which for sure you the man work ethics, the man in a After Effects right now mats up some things cause the work I have to do. And as we say, yo, we always been working, so to speak, from home long time. So the man the home, it's just a normal day. So as I said, with the inspiration from all of these stuff where you know you look online, you always engage yourself with the international crowd. Um, when you look on your work, probably like 2 years ago, comparing to
mhm.
now, how would you say you grow in terms of a visual effects and an artist,
I
a
mean,
creative overall?
I can identify the growth, but as usual, I'm never satisfied with where I am. You get me? And there's always room to get better. So I do see the growth, and I also see areas where I need to improve on. So it's a continuous process. It's a never ending thing. Like the moment I feel like I know everything, I think that's the moment I just need to get out of the field and find something new. Because once you reach to that point, it means you have stagnated. You get me? Mindset need to shift and reset if you get to that point. But yeah,
Well,
I can clearly see the growth, but at the same time, I'm still not at the place where I would consider myself to be comfortable, like remaining at.
Okay, okay, okay. But my thing is that, as I say, from a person on the outside looking in and look on your work, you know what I mean? Even the commercial, I see you know, I see a couple of commercials, and even from back then, I see you do some stuff where I know what Cinema 4D you use for some of your workflow. And
Mm.
me, I wonder, oh, okay. I wonder if Instagram drop, but I'm not sure. I see something happen a while ago, like it drop. I'm not sure. Me have to go check, but my thing is when
Oh,
I look
cool.
on your workflow and everything, and me see say I still my 40 I use, and me I say, yo, this nice. You know what I mean? And me personally, if I would say from the outside, where I look point, where I say, yo, but you as a creative, you know, always I look for develop yourself. You always look for
Mm.
develop yourself, and I say, yo, I need to learn the new thing, I need to learn how to do this faster, or I need to learn, you know what I mean, certain things. I know that Andrew Kramer, if you are any person
Yeah,
in the visual effects um, industry or anyway, if you don't
you're
know the
familiar
name
with
Andrew
Video
Kramer,
Copilot.
you
Yeah.
have a problem. Because Video Copilot teach the whole of it, a whole heap
Yeah,
of
because
things inside of After
that is
Effects.
how I got. All right, so in After Effects, so discovered that while at Edna, a bridge of mine actually discovered After Effects and Cinema 4D via this dude name is Kadir Martin, really talented guy, really wicked 3D artist. Too. Um, so saw him doing stuff like it was fascinating, asking what it was and point me in the right direction. And while at Dunlop, it was where I really started to like hone my skills as far as After Effects was concerned. Because Ruption at the time, used to do a lot of like motion graphic stuff. Like so, I actually used to hover and just ask question, yo, how you do that? Why you do that? All right, and just because they had an AV suite at the time, and we end up staying like after hours and work on stuff and got better over the time. And I think that whole exchange was what kind of prompted the idea of starting something outside of, because we got to the point where like work was coming in outside of the regular 9 to 5, and the volume was so much that it just made sense to make that move. So that prompt came from there. And actually, the first, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first project we worked on, like first like really major collab was a medley video for Equinox, camera trick medley, and that had a whole lot of After Effects stuff in there, and that was a challenge, and it was like stuff like that is always like exciting. I love the process of collaboration. You get me? Like, and it's necessary in this industry. You can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah, and as I say, yo, but then I sit down because I would have said more my introduction to After Effects would have been more from you. Like when I usually, I run up and down the iShango
Mm.
photos and we'd have do five, and then we'd have come at RD studio, link up with Eruption, and then me say, yo, you know what I mean? Jermaine, I do After Effects, and this is where I can do in it and stuff like that. I mean, I say, yo, this bad, so as a creative, we start look point and look on the evolution and how you grow yourself, because you don't necessarily have to be the best in a Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects,
Mm.
Premiere Pro. You don't have to be the best, but you want to be at a certain level where you can deliver whatever you conceptualize. So whatever you come up with in your mind, you basically can create it. And that is what me basically see you do. When I look at even the commercial, I don't remember which, I think it was a Jane commercial. I did a watch when you do it. I mean, I say, what you do it is
Oh,
basically like a paper folding type
with
of
the
thing.
paper fallout thing, yeah.
Yo, bro.
That's actually
Remember
one of
that day
my
they come
favorite
sit down
projects
side
still in
of me and say,
my life.
Jermaine, what you do? And yeah, show me the paper fold. And that was Cinema 40, right?
Yeah, that was Cinema 4D.
I mean, I say, yo, this bad. And them telling me, no know nothing about Cinema 4D. I'm sure probably see some of my Cinema 4D stuff that me I do. Them telling me, no know nothing about Cinema 4D. I mean, I say, yo, Jermaine, this way I do bad and stuff like that. And I realize that even you, Jermaine, sometime, even when I come to you with the new stuff and stuff like that, I realize that being a creative in the space and having a
Mhm.
lot of work sometimes take you away from doing exploration. And when I
Yeah, that
watch,
is true.
like,
That is
I
true.
mean, Mint, and I watch Man versus Machine and these big agencies will do a lot of visual effects, them always talk about R&D, research and development, and
Yeah, that's
everybody
a necessary
inside of
thing.
the studio have them own personal project. Them always talk about personal project. Look on Sakini from New York, where he always put out some stuff. He
Yeah.
just put out a crazy one with the gold thing and Crazy,
Okay,
crazy
but
work. So
that's the thing, you see, the exploration that is critical to developing yourself as an artist, and I think a lot of people in the industry, well, locally at least, because of the nature of what the industry is here, you're not really afforded a lot of time to do personal stuff. So it's a delicate balance between, you know, growing your skill base and just earning a living. Again, because bills have to pay, food have to cook on the table, kind of vibe. So and a lot of the times, the thing that falls to the wayside is the time you need to allot to just build yourself. Like, luckily, I was able to get to a point where like the quality of the work is good enough to maintain like clientele and all of that. But at the same time, I personally I need it to get better because I have particular goals in mind, and where I am right now is not necessarily ideal in terms of achieving that. But like VFX, most of the projects I do, they're centered around like motion graphics. I do some directing, some editing, but the bulk of it, the lion's share of it, is the motion design. But where I want to really stretch my legs is in VFX, visual effects, so set extensions, like particle effects, like movie type stuff. You get me?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
commercial work doesn't always allow for the chance for you to explore in that realm. So, which is why it is critical for like us creatives to figure out a way to structure, because it comes down to structure our schedules in a way that allows us to have that time that we need to use to develop ourselves. Because also be realistic, like more and more tools are being released that kind of make the whole process of creating what we create like easier, like a few button clicks. Like for instance, like explainer videos, those are the things where you have the simple characters like animated waving and all of that sort of stuff. And use it to like, I don't know, it's a popular technique that people use nowadays. Before that, you would need, you probably, if you're not an illustrator yourself, you hire an illustrator to do up a couple characters and break them up properly and backgrounds and all of that. Then you spend hours animating inside of After Effects and all of that. Now you have preset tools. I don't remember the name of it.
Is animator composer
Somebody
you're talking
shared it
about?
with. No
Where you
man.
basically just
There's
do.
there's 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 a open source one out there. I don't remember the name of it,
Oh,
but essentially it has
do it.
preset, something like that. It has preset
Yeah, man, it's
characters,
DU
preset actions,
IK.
and
Do it,
settings
me.
and all of that. All right, and it's basically like anybody with an ounce of common sense can go in and just click, drag and drop, and create a piece of communication in no time.
Oh no, animator composer you're talking about. If I drag and drop you're talking about, it's animator
Hmm.
composer. And even we ourselves as creative, we use it sometime. It's not every
Yeah.
project where we go on. We yo, you hear me right?
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Yeah, man. So as I said, we just drop offline a while ago. Me check.
Yeah, man, I hear you.
Yeah, we never actually drop offline. Me don't know. My OBS time out a while ago and shut down. So it come back. But we'll do keyframing sometimes to basically you know what I mean, make your work a little bit more customizable or make your work a little bit more
Mm.
nicer.
Yeah,
But
a little more finesse.
for the most part, you would use these software because as I say, you just make your work a lot much simpler and then you don't have even as stress. If you want to do like a what do you call it now? Overshoot animation. You just drag and drop the
Mm-hmm.
overshoot animation.
Because I mean, not everything needs to be a masterpiece, and if a client contact you and the basically the presentation of whatever the project is just some stuff scaling up and moving left to right and all of that, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So that is when you utilize projects like, all right. So for instance, when I'm in class and I'm delivering to them, like I always say to them, it's all good and well to have access to all of these plugins and all that, but it makes sense to understand how to do it yourself first, because understanding why I think is more important than the how. To understand the principle behind it means that you can go into any space and replicate it, and it's not stuck. You're not restricted to whether or not you have access to a particular plugin. Because once you
Exactly.
understand the principle,
So
why am I moving from left to right or up and down and all of that,
this
then you
is
can
one
apply
always I
that
talk
knowledge
to when
wherever.
people ask me question to Jeremy and it's like Miles I tell him say yo the software is not where do the work. Software is just
Mm-hmm.
a tool like a hammer. You know what I mean? It's not the hammer nail. the person who has the hammer and nail. So the software is just like a hammer, just like a saw. Is the person where use a saw, understand how to use a saw, basically, you know what I mean, do the work. So as a creative, you have to learn the tools, and even though them have all of these, as I said, plugins and all these things to make the work much easier for you, and almost anybody can do it. If you don't have the creative direction, you won't be able to create anything. If
Yeah.
you don't
Because all right, so the other
understand,
thing is with using those plugins, the thing you have to be careful with is then everybody's work is gonna start to look the same. So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you stand out if everybody's using the same
exactly.
drag and drop stuff? But if you have the knowledge, you understand what the plugin is doing, then you now have the ability to go in and customize because you know what to customize, you know what to look for. But if all you do is know how to use a plugin, you drag and drop, where do you go from there?
Exactly. So what me tend to do is, like, for instance, me get a what I call now, like a template. My
Mm-hmm.
what me always do with template is go inside the template and try and figure out how the template was created. What them use, whether them I use expression. As I say, you're supposed to know because me always I come to you about them things. Either me I come to you about Python or me I come to you about expression. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine, yo, you have to learn expression because if you learn expression, it unlocks so much things you don't necessarily have to do all the way you normally do. You can just learn expression, and then for instance you want something for loop, you just type loop in out or loop over time, or you just type time, and you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. If you want certain things to operate a certain way, you can just type wiggle and they just move. And you know when you learn expression, why me always try to learn these coding aspects of the program is so you can enhance the keyframes. So you lay down two keyframes and then you use the expression for do everything else, and it just simplify your work and basically make your work look much different from somebody. So as I say, learning the why is more
Yeah.
important than the how. And that is
Yeah.
something as I say, oh, the lecturer. So let me talk about that. How did you become a lecturer at Karimak, so to speak?
All right. That was series of fortunate events. All right, so there is a Facebook group called Jamaica Animation Nation Network, and so they have I think monthly meetups, and so I went to one of those meetups, and former lecturer of mine from Edna Manley was in attendance, and he was a part of, I don't know if he still is, but was a part of the faculty at Karamak, and they were in the process of sourcing people to basically do lecturing for particular courses. And just by chance, just having a convo with him there, he asked if I'd be interested. And at the time, well, even still, I have no formal training in teaching, and I'm not a formally trained teacher, but I've been working in the industry for long enough. And I think that that was enough for me to know, like, share that information, share that experience with these up and coming students. So that's how that happened. So I had the initial discussion. As I was interested, I was like, why not? Why not try something new? It wouldn't kill me. And went through the necessary process of, submitting credentials to the admin and interviews and whatever. And that's how I ended up there. Started initially just doing one course. It was found the first year course, Introduction to, oh geez, I remember the course code, but not the title. Introduction to 3D, basically. So it's a course built around Maya, so the 3D software called Maya. And fortunately enough, like a couple months prior, I did. It was a government funded program because the government is currently trying to like establish animation industry in Jamaica. So I managed to be a part of that first round of training. Well, I don't even know if it was first round, whatever. Yeah. So, and the program of focus in that was Maya. So I had 3D experience before from Cinema 4D, which comes back to again why I say understanding the why is better than the how, because I was able to translate the knowledge I had from Cinema 4D in my application in how I use Maya. But anyways, yeah. So did I think it was a 3-month course there, and that meetup was a little bit after that. So information was fresh, and it turns out that the foundation course they were using Maya, so it was everything aligned. Started to do that, and little by little, like additional courses started to get added to my schedule. So started off doing one, and I think now I'm doing 5 there. Um, 2 3D based courses, a motion design course, a compositing course, and two, was that six or something? I lost count. And two film courses. Art and experimental film being one of them, and the other one is a course based around compositing, which is actually going on now.
Alright. What more if a breakdown for the audience is what is the difference between motion design and visual? Because a lot of people hear visual effects and they don't
All right,
necessarily
motion
understand what motion design is and visual
and
effects is.
visual
So
effects.
that more if
All
let the
right,
people
so think
understand
about
what the
visual
difference between
effects.
them.
I think the term most people might be familiar with is special effects. So visual effects is more like the stuff you'd see in movies, like explosions, like high tech interfaces, like the Iron Man heads up display, that sort of stuff. Like making people look like they're giants or really small. Like so, visual effects will fall into that line of stuff, and that's where you have like 3D elements, whether it be characters or buildings or whatever, being inserted into a shot and color corrected and all of that to seem like it was originally part of that space. So that's VFX. And motion design now is basically animating graphic elements, so text, images, shapes, and that sort of stuff. So a lot of the ads you would see on TV that are not live action ads, that doesn't use like actual people and all of that. You have animated elements, so those would be considered motion graphics. So you have the text sliding in, scaling in, and that sort of stuff.
So you would say motion graphics is much more simpler to get in to than visual effects because visual effects you have to understand compositing, you have to understand
Yeah, yeah, it
lighting, you have
was,
to
yeah.
understand a lot of stuff as it
All right, so
relates to
both
building
so
out the
both of them
visuals.
require some amount of doing to, well, not necessarily to get into it, but to, I don't want to say master it, but to build a proficiency in it. Um, so with VFX, it helps if you have a photography background, or even if you don't, you spend some time and try to understand light, understand how light works. How does light bend around a certain object? Does it bend or does it get obscured and all of that sort of stuff? Because when you're putting, for instance, let's say you created this 3D skeleton and you insert it into a scene, you have to bear in mind where is the sun at in your original footage that you shot. What position is it at? Not just direction, not just whether or not it's left or right, but what time of day is it? Because then that goes into the color temperature. Is it like warm or cooler? Is there more blue or more yellow in the sunlight and all of that sort of stuff? What direction? How does the shadow fall on the ground? Is it a hard shadow or a soft shadow and that sort of stuff? So it helps to have that knowledge of like understanding of lighting, color, compositing, all of that sort of stuff. For motion design, motion graphics, it helps to have an understanding of layout and graphic design basically because it is essentially moving design elements around, and you have to bear in mind the aesthetics. And to an extent it is subjective, like everybody has different tastes, but there are certain rules that govern whether or not an image is pleasing to look at, whether regardless of whether it is your taste.
Yeah, so what I hear from you now, Jermaine, is that alright, let me try and break it down in a form where make it a little bit more how would I say more palatable or simple for a person. So have you ever
Hmm.
seen Photoshop? When you see somebody put text in a Photoshop and put in like a car in the background and put in them stuff there, they are most time trying to do a motion graphic, so to speak. But when you see a person take a photo and them take this person out of the photo and put them in a one pool and then them start color the person fit them match the color of the pool and match the lighting and make sure say, oh, if the lighting dip on the side of this, them color balance the person and make sure so the person basically have the same color temperature as the pool. That would have fall more into visual effects as opposed to
Hmm.
motion graphics. So
Motion
is
graphics,
is
yeah.
is compositing visual effects is more compositing while
More along the lines
motion
of
graphics
compositing, yeah.
is more just moving elements. So you get a photo, you
Yeah.
get one font, or you get some elements, and you put them in After Effects, you move them around, or you put them in a Cinema 4D, and you move them around. But visual effects now is more you compositing things together. Make sure all the lighting is perfect. Make sure all the things. And me and you know Jeremy and say, yo, we watch even some big budget movie, but when you look upon it as a visual effects artist, you're like, yo, you know, so that never right. The lighting, this so even Matrix when you watch Neo dip on the stick there, so you can see say it computer generated art. Let me tell you the worst one. The worst movie possibly out where the VFX in it is real bad is the one with The Rock. What name again? Remember the
Oh,
like
Scorpion King.
Scorpion King. Oh my gosh. Yo, when you watch Scorpion King, you're like, ugh. And it's not like the
Yeah.
technology never exists. The technology exists to make Scorpion King better, but I don't know. I don't know if them use that or not. But when you watch Scorpion King, you're like, oh, cringe, yo. This just look
Yeah.
horrible. So
I
I'm gonna
mean,
say as a
well,
visual effects artist,
by today's standards, yeah, but like early days, I mean, that would have been, a marvel to look at. But as time goes on and technology advances, like techniques get refined or new techniques come up. But yeah, that's a good example of not so impressive visual effects.
yeah. But
And
as I
so
said,
the thing is, it is not a simple thing to do. Like it's easy for anybody to watch and like criticize something like that, but to understand the process of it helps you to just get a better appreciation, not just for the craft itself or the final piece itself, but I think for the what it takes from the people doing it. You know, and
okay,
I think that's what missed a lot because all right, it's just I think is a cultural thing too. Like here, there isn't this great regard for art, a great appreciation for art in our space. It is almost like people like it, people like things that look cool and all of that, but there is no real value expressed for it. Again, outside of the people who practice it and have a genuine appreciation for it, it's kind of like a throwaway. So a lot of times people don't really consider what happens behind the scenes to bring this thing to life. So it's good to acknowledge, yeah, you identify something as not being good or this ugly or it could have been done better. But at the same time, having an appreciation for the techniques and the process, I think is good because then you're not just watching it to complain. You're doing an actual critique and then from that you can improve your own craft,
all right. So
understand the
one
why.
thing I want to talk to you about is a lot of person don't know that a visual effects artist work in a second. So a visual effect artist make money in a second. So
Mhm.
talk to me about making money in seconds. A man link and say, yo, want you do a 15-second thing.
Ah,
So talk to me about making money
yeah,
in
all right.
seconds.
All right. So that is always a challenge, especially discussing with somebody who is not familiar with the whole industry and like the value associated. The tendency is to assume that this is only 10 seconds, so it can't cost so much money. But not understanding that even sometimes creating something 3 seconds long can take you 2 weeks to do. You get me, depending on what that thing is.
Exactly.
So it's always a challenge to kind of explain, you know, why this thing that's only on the screen for 5 seconds, why am I have to pay half a million for it? You get me? And it's tricky, man.
Because as I say, it's not about how many seconds it is there for. It's about the process
Mm-hmm.
to get these 5 seconds.
Yeah. So the process is
So
important.
you, as I say, you can take 2 weeks to create 5 seconds. You can take a month
Mm-hmm.
to create 1 second, depending on what you do. If you have to go deep in some Houdini and you go deep in
Mm-hmm.
some cinema 4D and you have to build everything basically from scratch and you are conceptualize the whole process. It's not some way you basically build where somebody else create and you look point and I say, oh, alright, I'm gonna try to do
Yeah.
this. You actually have come up with the
But
whole
all right. So
concept.
I'm glad you mentioned that the whole time and all of that. That's something to consider as it relates to motion graphics and doing commercial work specifically. Is so as a motion designer doing commercial work, you have to kind of be a little multifaceted, be a bit of a generalist. Your expertise cannot solely be in the creation of these beautiful pieces. You have to understand and have an appreciation for the business of things as well. Like because me as a client coming to you, I want to add, I want people to buy my new gloves that I'm selling. You telling me about, Cinema 4D and Houdin and all of that sort of stuff don't mean nothing to me. I'm just looking at my bottom line, like why I have to spend this amount of money for that to tell people to buy clothes. So you have to have an understanding for the requirements on the marketing and advertising side of things to inform you in terms of your choices as it relates to the techniques that they use. Because sometimes it's not worth it to do this whole elaborate 3D thing based on what the goals of the particular projects are. Sometimes you just keep it simple. And sometimes you might, a client might come to you, yo, I want a 30-second ad and I want this and this and this and happen. And based on what their spend is, the budget that they have available, you can make certain recommendations to them. Or here, what instead of doing a 30-second, how about you do a 10-second and you run it on this platform and these spaces to maximize, get a bigger bang for your buck type of thing. So it's not, especially if you're freelancing, like your mindset cannot just be about creating cool pieces. Unless you're doing it for yourself, then fine, whatever. But if you're working with working with businesses and all of that sort of stuff, you have to be able to have conversations on that level with them as well. It can't just be about the pretty thing. You get me?
Yeah, definitely understand what you're saying. Is a weird thing. Is a weird thing when it comes to visual effects and trying to explain to clients and stuff like that. The next thing we always talk about too when we are talking about it is that a man would link and say, yo, I want something up on Instagram. But does putting it on Instagram means that it reduces the amount of time when me that spend to make the work?
Boy, I
Like
have that
you want
conveyor
the
all the
flashy thing,
time.
but it not go
The
on
end of
TV, but
the
it
end
go
of the
on
day
Instagram.
is no matter where it's going, it's the same amount of time and effort is required in creating it. So if you're just gonna keep it on your phone for yourself, that's up to you. But especially if shooting is involved, I still have to hire a crew, you know, still have to pay for food and refreshments for the crew, equipment rental, whatever fees are necessary if you're doing like an outdoor location like government, like link KSAC and all that. So all of that stuff still has to be covered, no matter it doesn't matter the platform that you're putting it on. So the value is the value. It is up to you where you place it. And I understand the tendency for a lot of people is to say, oh, but it's just for social media. But the reality is social media now is the main space for consumption of content. So if there was a scale there that you justify paying more or less based on where it's going, then you would really be um in line for us to say, well, pay more since it's social media then, as opposed to what the assumption is that it should be less because it's social media. Because they look at social media as a recreational space, but it may have started out as that, but it's no longer that. Social media is the platform for business and well for a lot of people for commerce and all of that. So it's not just about sharing memes and having fun. A lot of business exists there. That's why people like have like boosted posts and ads and all of that sort of stuff because the audience is there. Like more people tune in there than they do traditional media, TV, radio, and what you call it, press and all of that.
Yeah, but
So
some of them still willing to spend the big budget on a TVC, and that
mhm,
is when we realize is it's a mentality. A lot of the people who actually are spending money, their mentality not really change in terms. You go to them, you talk to them about doing work and stuff like that, and then when them hear social media, them like, oh, the
mhm,
budget pan this must have been low. But when them hear TV now, like a man will spend $3-4 million on a TV ad, and if you tell him say, yo, it a go up on social media, he want to spend 1 million. But we're like, yo, it's not about the platform that is going on, it's about the effort and the energy we put at the work. And as you
mhm.
say, right now
and
we
you have
should
to
have paid
consider yeah,
more.
consider the reach too, yeah. Consider the reach.
The reach
Because I
because
think
social media reach
that's where
more.
the assumption of value is coming from, because they see it as, oh, TV is a more serious space. It reaches X amount of people. And the reality is the social media platform, it has a wider reach and it's more accessible because like majority of the population have a smartphone. You get me? So you don't have to rush home or rush anywhere to tune into news and hope that, by chance they're watching the 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock news to see ad that airs at prime time. They're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, Facebook, wherever they are, you can push ad right there.
As I say, it's a misconception with the people who want to spend their money, Big misconception as far as I see it. But are we as the creatives basically and the people in the space have to try and educate them and hope that even for
Yeah.
them market and
Which
stuff
which
like that,
yeah,
educate them.
which is why I say it's not enough to just be focused on creating beautiful pieces. You have to understand the business of it as well, and you have to be able to speak their language because a lot of times if you're dealing with like a client directly, like sometimes you're dealing like a social media manager, or, account executive or whosoever, but their concern is their bottom line. You get me? So you have to be able to explain to them what value is this to me. Yeah, they all know that I need advertising to get the word out about my product or my service. They know that. But why should I pay what you're asking for this? And it's only going there. You have to be able to just speak to that sort of thing and understanding. Yes, it's more than just you wanting to create this thing. You have to understand what is the purpose of it. What are they trying to get from it? Because that is what informs their decision. They're like, yo, I have $1 million to spend, and I need 2 million people. I need this in front of 2 million eyeballs, and from that, I need a conversion rate of I don't know, like 40%,
Brother,
50%, sixty
as far as
percent.
I see it, my thing is that a lot of them cannot even check the metrics when it comes to television. Them not have no tools. It's just a television station.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them say, yo, them I reach these people. Them not have the metrics, and on social media and these places, you get the metrics directly. It can tell you how many people you reach. It can tell you, you know what I mean, who see it. It can tell you people from Jamaica, people from London. It can tell you. But a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
because as I said, them lag ahead and them back in the past. A lot. Alright, think about now, Jermaine. Think about this hit where we get
Mm-hmm.
with the COVID-19. A lot of them are run up and down now try to understand social media because them never did into social media when everything popped down. Most of the business them right now really don't want to spend the money on sponsorship and them thing because them some of them them business kind of get shake because but them realize the social media continue. Everybody know if you are the live. Everybody know basically if you are try to work in a the social space, so to speak, because this is where it is. This is where everything is right now. On the internet, on the social media. See that right now, me and you have a conversation here, and it look much different than what Instagram would have basically put out. But this is what happened. This is how it happened. And remember, said this is the new normal. This is the future, you know. Things not necessarily are gonna go back to what it was, you know. This is how things are gonna
and,
be.
and and to be honest, a lot of people looking for it to get back to what normal was. But a lot of things that were a part of the norm are really not so necessary. You get me?
Exactly.
Like, all right, for instance, like this, like it is so, and especially people, especially if you like the business for yourself, or well, anybody in business, the bane of the endless meetings, the back to back meetings,
That
and
are
a
the
lot of it is
worst,
just
brother. Are the
not
worst that.
necessary. And like this is something I've been saying to people a lot of the time because the platforms have been there. You get me? We don't need to, because it comes at a cost to everybody. Every time I have to go meet, but you consider gas, the wear and tear on your vehicle, just wear and tear on you, your body, your time. It's not necessary when you can just log into Skype, Zoom, whatever. So we need to say in 15 minutes I'm done versus you calculate commute and traffic, you end up spending like 3, 4, 5 hours for a 30-minute meeting. It's
Exactly.
not
So,
necessary.
brother, this just really a show up a lot of things, you know what I mean? Even sometimes, I realize say, a lot of the companies, them still want paying a check. Why we need to come drive and come pick up a check? Just wire the money.
That's why, yeah.
Just wire the money or just put the money in my bank account. Why you still need for a right check? Why you pay the bank for check leave when them have the systems where you can just transfer the money to the person?
I mean, it's like you say, with a lot of them are kind of stuck in old habits. So it's easier said than done for them to just transition into something new, even if that something new is, would make for better business. But
But you know,
to
Jermaine,
each his own. Everything in
them
time.
actually have the system for do the thing, you know. Them just go because when them have to interface with international people, them have to wire them money. when them have to interface with certain people, them have to wear them. Even some of the companies them will go on here like them don't want to pay in a US. So you say, oh, me I charge US and you should pay me in US. Them want to convert and pay in a Jamaican. But when them I work with certain clients where a US, them I deal with them, pay them in a US. So it's a weird system and a weird type of vibe. When I say, yo, a US my company deal with, a US more you pay me, I know you pay me in a Jamaican, me a US vendor pan your system. I don't want me a Jamaican vendor for your system because you have the system where you have US vendors, especially if you are a big company. So now, but I go around my thing, but as I say, the system is weird and the people them want to stay on the back of the system and they don't want to move forward with the whole system. But apartheid, brother, apartheid, and I'm gonna say, yo, brother, I'm glad for bring you up on the program and for get your insight, so to speak, for kind of make the people them understand from a visual effects and motion graphic artist, more specialists in a that area, for kind of give them kind of a understanding of how you look on things. You know what I mean? As I said, sometimes you want to do the
Yeah.
pretty things them, but you have to do up here the bills.
There's something I want to echo. Yannick said it when he was on the show, the therapist. As it relates to the whole process of taking care of yourself and as well as your mental space, because all of that, like, we're not machines, you get me? So that affects your productivity and your creativity. And I think a lot of the times we get caught up in the process of just working, putting out stuff that at the expense of our own health and well-being. And I've been guilty of that. You get me? Like, whole heap of sleepless nights and all of that sort of stuff. But it is a valid thing to mention, and I think it's something that really need to take
As I said,
seriously
I didn't
because
mean to
you
ask you
know,
that question, So how do you
yeah,
balance working from home? Because as I say, when you work from home, you just come into the space and spend the whole
yeah,
day, eat, the nothing. It's like you just a work,
yeah,
work, work, work,
yeah.
work. So
That has
how do you balance working from home? This new thing
and
everybody are doing, working from
many
home. How you balance that?
occasions I reach a particular time of day and I realize that, oh shit, I never eat. I forgot to eat, kind of vibe. So the like I said, I've been working from home for a little while, so the whole COVID thing never really take much adjustment for me. But what I've been doing over the years, because I realize the toll, because even as it relates to family too, because one of the prompts initially for me starting to work from home was I wanted to spend more time with my family. Like, this initially started like when my son was born, and like coming up, there are a lot of nights when I was just not at home. You get me? Like, just working through the night in the office trying to get things done and get it out and all of that. I'm like, it kind of make no sense to be FaceTiming your kid. That's ridiculous. So being at home, I was like, all right, I'm working from home, can spend time. But then it was the same process. Even though I was in the space, I was still detached from the space. You get me? So it's really I want to have realized that just make time outside of work, because work isn't everything. And people say this all the time. If you drop down there tomorrow, then find somebody to replace. And no matter what field you're in, what position you're in,
You are Jermaine.
you're
More
always expendable.
Jermaine, you more you go over that because as I said, I don't know what go on my machine. It seemed like Instagram not gone, but my OBS just crashed a while ago. I don't know what go on. So more you go back
All right,
over that working
I
from
go
home
back over it,
and
but
mentally.
it wouldn't be word for word. But I
Yes,
was
not for me
saying,
word for word. Just kind of go back
yeah,
over the process of you working from home because even
yeah.
me suffer from that. I'm
It's
coming at my space.
essentially it's about, because everybody routine is different. Everybody has their personal preferences. You get me? Some people are morning people. Some people work better in the night. So you figure out what what area you fall into, and then you carve out time for life. You get me? In between that and around that. So that's something that I kind of struggled with. I still not so much nowadays. You get me? But all right. So one of the things was like, everybody will come to you, and their thing is always urgent. We need to get this out now. We need to get this to the TV stations by X time. We need, and because they come to you with that sort of energy, that anxiety, like, you kind of tend to, apply that to yourself. No, I have to get this done. No, I can't stop. I can't stop. I can't stop. When in reality, you know. when it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and you're still anxiously trying to get this thing done. Those people are at home asleep. Then have them family time, then eat with them family, then watch them show and them gone in them bed. You're still, you know, pushing on this thing, neglecting you and yours. You get me? And that don't make no sense. So you have to
So
kind of figure out the balance there. And a lot of times is it comes down to sometimes you just have to say no. You get me?
that
Whether it is turning down a project, or if they say, "Oh, this is urgent, I need it by X time," you kind of put on if you can sorry to understand the urgency of it, but I'm not able to get to this until tomorrow or 2 days later and all of that.
yeah. What me I
And
hear from you is
if
that
they decide to wait, then fine. If not, then
you have to try strike a balance with even your clients them. Because some of them,
yeah.
because them know you can push out content, them feel like say you're always available. But when you're busy and at
Mm,
certain things and you take on the next project and you are stay up the whole night and try to finish this project to send it out, you not really do yourself justice. You just have hurt yourself, so to speak. And as I said, them
yeah,
they have to them better sleep and you have to basically
yeah,
up. Then you can't
yeah.
function running in the morning.
For a lot of people, like treat yourself like a client in the same way you carve out time for their thing because it is so important. Uh, Same approach to yourself. My even if it's as simple as just watch some TV for an hour, it is a critical thing. It's something you must do. So
Yeah,
same mindset
yeah.
that you approach client work with, same mindset you approach man watch I don't know Brooklyn Nine for an hour,
Yes.
and nothing
Because
can get in the
you
way
also
of that.
need time
So
for
you need to
refresh.
decompress. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. But as we say, all the time I run out, I know Instagram probably soon cut me off and stuff like that. But I'm gonna say, Jermaine, glad to you come through for kind of give them a sense of how you view things, how you see the space and stuff like that. And I really appreciate it. One of the brother them always come around and always a reason about visual effects and cinema 4D
Mm.
and After Effects. And you know me the man where once me I learn something new, I always run to you and say, Jermaine, see it, y'all, yo, what look for I go. I'm always come to you and say, yo, give me some critique on this and stuff like that. So you're one of the man them always reach out to and you always say, yo, Shango, yo, when you start taking on some things, you always put in an effort to get yourself to a certain level, you know what I mean? And yeah, you always
Mm.
try to even encourage me for learning new things them. I mean, I say, yeah. I say it's supposed to go because I believe that in Jamaica, all creatives need to basically share with each other so we can better the industry.
Yeah,
That is
because
what this
I
show is about.
there's well, I'm not saying a lot, but it's been my experience, like occasional like encounters with people based overseas that one that either don't think that an industry exists here, or they think in the same way that people used to think that everybody in Jamaica backwards, grass skirt, living tree kind of vibe. For some people, that is the perception that they have of this industry out here. Because the other day I was talking to somebody based overseas, they were talking to me about like doing some work with them, and the comment was that they're surprised to know that like people are doing work of this quality here. And I'm like, yo, it's not
Yeah,
just me.
yeah.
There are a couple people here doing it.
Doing this quality,
So
this level
yeah,
of work.
which is why I champion collaboration. You get me?
Brother, Jermaine, as I say, me always I say, yo, make we link up DNZR. Make the three always sit down
Mm,
and basically talk to each other and we learn from each other. And when we think we need to do now, given that this social distancing, the three will basically come in a Zoom and the three will share a screen and the three will just basically work. Because if a show we are coming
just
on,
have a yeah.
definitely I gotta bring up on the show. If a show I come name verses, and what verses is you and an next creative get 3 elements or 5 elements and work together online 30 minutes.
I'm gonna definitely do something like that.
Brother,
Yeah.
me test the show already and it bad. It bad, it bad, it bad, it bad, it bad. It's a show mega drop on Creative Always Be and make people see it. And I'm gonna say, Jermaine, we really appreciate you coming out, giving me the time. I see your work while the day I do this, and I know me I take it from your work, and I really appreciate you giving me the time and come out and bless up the crowd and everything. And this content I get to share with the people them and them get to say, yo, visual effects artists out here we are do the thing on a certain level. And as I say, bless up brother and guidance in the whole COVID
Yeah,
thing.
man.
Bless up for your family and
Thanks for
everything.
the
So
invitation and thing. Don't know. Many
yeah
time
man. So
again.
I'm gonna say your guidance and everything. So we're gonna run the outro and kinda give the people them the
Alright,
quote
cool,
and
man.
everything. So guidance and blessings. Yes, yes, people. As you know, we always have an outro quote, you know what I mean? It's never too late to be what you might have been. Listen this again. It is never too late to be what you might have been. George, what, Eliot? Yeah, so the person name. George Eliot. Now, we really want to kind of understand what they must say right now. It is never too late to be what you might have been. So, if you want to be a snail, if you want to be a leaf, if you want to be a butterfly, you still can be a butterfly. Even if you're 20, even if you're 50, even if you're 100. What I say basically is that you always can learn, you always can grow, you always can elevate. If you want to become a doctor and you're 50, you can go med school with the people them were 15 and 18 and still become a doctor. So it is never too late to be what you have might has been. I don't remember there's this artist where she become an artist when she almost 80. I mean, I talk about bad piece of artist and stuff like that. And it's just because she grew up in the old time thing, whereas woman have to work in a house. But this is a big quote. George Eliot, it's never too late to be what you might have been. Thanks again for watching. That was another episode of Creative